The 41-year-old quarterback agreeing to terms on a one-year deal with Pittsburgh, ending months of uncertainty around his future. Rodgers plans to fly to Pittsburgh today and join the Steelers ahead of next week's mandatory minicamp. What does all this mean as far as Las Vegas is concerned? Well, I'm glad you asked. The ESPN Bet Sportsbook had the Steelers' odds to win the AFC North move just slightly. So it does not, as far as Vegas is concerned, mean that everything has changed. Our favorite former Steeler, RC, is up with us early this morning. Bart Scott is here, ready to roll. Graziano is here. And Adam Schefter, like most people, I learned of this yesterday from your Twitter feed. Tell us everything we need to know about this finally getting done.
Bringing for the second time in a month, we saw white smoke from the Vatican. It came in the form of Aaron Rodgers agreeing to a one-year deal with the Pittsburgh Steelers. And really, this was the plan all along for this deal to get done right before the Pittsburgh Steelers' mandatory minicamp that begins on Tuesday, June 10th. And that always seemed to be the date that Rodgers would have to come in by, where he could begin to get onboarded with the Steelers' coaches, players, offense, city, everything. Yes, he visited the Steelers. Yes, he threw for DK Metcalf for one day. But the fact of the matter is, the mandatory minicamp was almost like an appetizer to training camp. And I don't think anybody wanted to step into training camp cold, with that being the first time that he would be on the field with the Pittsburgh Steelers. And so the two sides officially formalized that one-year agreement yesterday. Rodgers will fly to Pittsburgh. He will be a part of the mandatory minicamp. And I think that date right there spurred this deal to finally getting done.
Graziano.
Yeah, and he has been in touch with the Steelers throughout the process. They kind of knew where he stood. He said on McAfee a few months ago, I'm not holding anyone hostage, and it seemed like he acted that way. I know he's been in touch with the offensive coordinator, Arthur Smith, over the past few weeks. So they've exchanged ideas, what it would look like, all that kind of stuff. So it was pointing this way. I think the Steelers felt like in an off-season market where quarterback was not great, right? There weren't a ton of great options, that there's some level of upside to bringing in Aaron Rodgers because of what he's been in the past. If there's like an 8% chance that he's MVP Aaron Rodgers again, then this was 100% worth it for the Steelers, because that's more than, Mason Rudolph gives you.
Yeah.
So the idea is he can come in, they can win with defense, they can build a running game, and he can be what they need at quarterback, which is good enough at age 41. We'll see. He was not a very good player last year for the Jets.
They open at the Jets, his former team. They will, week 8, they will play the Packers, his legendary former team. We can debate all that in a minute. Let me get the Steeler in here. Ryan Clark, Aaron Rodgers is a Pittsburgh Steeler, and your reaction is?
Okay.
That's it. That's it right there.
I mean, I think we expected it to go this way. When you listen to Adam Schefter tell me early on in the offseason that this is the week or the weekend to mark down on your calendar when Aaron Rodgers can make a decision, that's normally what I'm expecting. It is best case scenario for the 2025 Pittsburgh Steelers. Now your quarterback room is much better, much more improved from Mason Rudolph to Aaron Rodgers. You're going to look at games toward the end of the season against the Jacksonville Jaguars, the Miami Dolphins, and say, okay, he can still spin the football with some of the best of them. We watched him get healthier throughout the season. But what does that mean for this team? You remember how irresponsibly giddy we were when Aaron Rodgers became a New York Jet, right? There were people like Mike Greenberg who thought that the New York Jets were going to get sort of this elevation that we saw Tom Brady bring to Tampa Bay. They ain't the same dude. Aaron Rodgers is a guy who, to me, is the best quarterback I ever played against, still only been to one championship. So what does this make the Pittsburgh Steelers? This makes the Pittsburgh Steelers the same team the Pittsburgh Steelers have been for the last decade. A team that's good enough to compete, a team that's good enough to look at and say, okay, they can get into the playoffs, but they can't win a playoff game. And they're still home week 1 of every playoff season. That's exactly who this team is. Let's go fight for 3rd in the AFC North. I believe Aaron Rodgers will play fine. I believe Aaron Rodgers will acclimate fine. But that doesn't mean that this team becomes the team that is setting the standard that Mike Tomlin, when he took over, was going to continue, and through the first 10 years of his career did continue. So I think it's fine. I think it's best case scenario for this team. But if you don't have a 2-year plan that says Aaron Rodgers starts this year because Mike Tomlin is allergic to losing, and we are going to sell the farm, give up all the picks to get a quarterback next year, this makes absolutely no sense when we're talking about your long-term future.
Bart, you look skeptical.
I mean, because it's just like I feel like I'm surrounded by Buck Nasty, the world's biggest haters. Right? When you talk about Aaron Rodgers, and listen, I understand that the results for the Jets wasn't what they were last year, but if you look at what he did actually on the field, he was tied with Josh Allen, who just so happened to win the MVP. They threw around the same amount of yards, 28-6. I know sometimes numbers can lie, but it wasn't to me last year. I watched every single play of Aaron Rodgers. It's not like I'm some Aaron Rodgers fan. It's not like I'm in his pocket. He's my boy.
I'll remind everyone, Bart works
every play.
Yeah, for the Jets, local affiliation shows. So you literally did watch every single play, and your opinion as mine, Ryan, I'll get to you in a minute. Your opinion as mine. And because we can show a ton of advanced stats that suggest he was not good at all last year. There are a million numbers. Yep. Completion against whatever.
It's awful. It was 25th in QBR.
You
25th in the league.
Listen,
if you watched it, it didn't look that way.
Yeah, but context matters, right? And the context was that people thought that it was Aaron Rodgers that couldn't play last year. It was Tyron Smith, who from day one could not protect him. When Fashanu got in, it was a much different Aaron Rodgers than what people are in the Aaron Rodgers that we're accustomed to seeing. You can say whatever you want. I've been in this situation. I remember, late in June 6th, in 2006, we made a trade for Steve McNair late in his career. Yeah. People thought that he was done. They brought in Vince Jones, decided to move on from him. Well, all we did is go 13-3. You talk about he takes on a team. This isn't the Jets. This is a team that knows how to win, that has a proud tradition, that can go to the playoffs with Mason Rudolph as the quarterback. You add Aaron Rodgers, it gives you a chance when you go against elite guys. He doesn't have to be the great Aaron Rodgers of the MVP, 4-time MVP. All he has to do is be able to throw the ball and make plays at certain times. You can give me stats all you want. Yeah. I watch every game.
The stat is that in 2006, Steve McNair was 33 years old. This guy's 41.
Aaron Rodgers,
the list of players that have succeeded at a high level at the quarterback position past age 40 has exactly one name on it.
And this is 19 years later, right? So you can talk about 33 years old.
25th in QBR last year. The completion percentage over expected. 30th in the league. Russell Wilson was 10th.
Here's what I will say.
Kept Russell.
You can tell me all that. Like I said, I know the context because I watch every game. And I understand
these stats account for context.
Okay.
The numbers say what they do say. I can't disagree.
That say Josh Allen, he's tied for 7th with Josh Allen.
The Jets were the worst coach team in NFL history last year. They fired 2 coaches and removed their offensive coordinator during the season. That had something to do with everything. RC, I can see you are agitated. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think one, to bring up the stat of touchdowns when it pertains to Aaron Rodgers and Josh Allen is irresponsible of us, right? Because you can watch those games, watch the way that those 2 teams played, watch Josh Allen use his legs within the red zone and say this was totally different. We can also watch the amount of games that in the fourth quarter, Josh Allen was standing on the sideline because they had beaten the other team so badly, when most fourth quarters, Aaron Rodgers was trying to fling the football around as much as they can because they were getting their heads beat in. I'm not here to bash Aaron Rodgers. I believe that Aaron Rodgers is an upgrade to Mason Rudolph. I even believe Aaron Rodgers is a slight upgrade to what Russell Wilson was last year. Aaron Rodgers is no longer elite. Aaron Rodgers doesn't walk into the building with the cachet that says to the rest of the organization, this is our guy that's going to allow us to win a championship. Cam Hayward, TJ Watt, Minkah Fitzpatrick, all of these players that are on their way to gold jackets, along with Rodgers, don't get to feel like because he's here, we're going to win it all. The Jets shouldn't have felt like that. Actually, after